Welcome to Passioneer Magazine The Podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine The Podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Now, Charmène, I cannot wait to talk to you about the all that you do. There are so many people in the world that wear many hats and they wear them well. You are one of those people. However, I realize I may be introducing you to some folks that are unfamiliar with who you are and what you do. So my first question for you is, what makes you you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. What makes me me is I am my mother. That's what makes me me. And I like to always go into that. We always forget about our genetics when they say, what makes you you? What makes me me is the generational genetics. It went into how I think, what I do, the compassions I have, all of those things. But what really makes me me is the things around me, my family, my daughters, my grandchildren, and the people I come in contact with. That's what really influences me. And I get a little bit into other things that I do. What makes me me is also the air I breathe, the water I drink, the food I eat. All of those things go into flipping switches within me, if you want to say, whether I'm healthy, I'm not healthy, whether I have brain fog, all of those things. And I know it sounds a little bit different than what most people would say, what makes you you, but that's how I look at it. I really look at it from that perspective because that really is what makes me me, and what people say to me makes me me. Because if you say something that's positive, that's going to have a vibrational influence on me because we're water. So it makes an impact, it makes a ripple effect. If you say something negative, it makes a ripple effect. So that's what makes me me.
I love that. And, thank you for giving an holistic answer, right? Because usually it is just about the business of who we are. And to be quite honest, I love it when someone decides not to do that. I am that person when you walk into a room and people are trying to, figure out who is who. And it's like, hi, what do you do? What college did you go to? Like, am I really going to go through 25 mini interviews? Just, hi. First and foremost, how was your day? What exciting and fun thing did you do today? Give me that. I don't need your label, right? And all of that. So I love that. But just to flip the switch a little bit, you have several labels and you wear those labels very well, I must say. So my first question to you is, as someone who is in the health industry, in the wellness industry, you're an entrepreneur, how do you keep all of these things complementary in your life?
Ooh, that's a toughie. How do I keep them complementary? And I would say I do what I enjoy, and that's what make them complementary. Because I don't look at my business as a business. My business is my livelihood. I am a fourth generation nutritionist. It goes back generations. I did not know that. I was originally going to school to be a pre-med major. So I did that for 3 years. Then my husband, who's passed away, he wanted to go to medical school. And I was like, well, if we're going to have kids, that's going to be a little bit tough. And so I went into special education. I did that. But in going into special education, I also still brought the science with me. So I never let go of the science. I never let go of that component. But I grew up with herbs and vegetables and all that. And then my mother, was a certified herbalist. And if you had asked me part of this question 2 weeks ago, I would be giving you a different answer than I'm giving you today. And the reason I say that is there's something that you may not know, but it is on social media. My mother passed away. My birthday was on the 17th. My mother passed away on the 18th in my arms. So when it talks about that, and she was 92, she was on no medication. And basically what it ended up being is she had renal failure, and that was due to old age, and her kidneys had gone down to about 30%. But the last 3 weeks she was on liquids. So during that time, my entrepreneurship was set aside, and for the last really year and a half, that aspect. But I never let go of the family component, and I never let go of the nutritional component and what could do there. But because I'm always inquisitive, her whole journey of what she was going through and me being a caregiver is now what's making my business what it will be moving forward, because I'm incorporating what I learned, because I was not a caregiver. Yes, I took care of my children, but not a caregiver like this. So I was able to learn the problems that caregivers go through. I had to do my own research. I had to do things. And these are things that caregivers normally don't have. So there will be additional information coming out about that, because I'm compiling that information so that it can be helpful to others. So that's how I combine what I do every day with my business, because what I do every day gets incorporated into my business. It is not separated from my business.
Absolutely. And as you were saying that, I'm so sorry to hear the news about your mother, but oh, to be blessed with a parent up to 92 years. We never want them to go. My father has passed on. My mother is still with me. We never want them to go, no matter how old they are or young at heart. We never, if we could check off a box, keep parent forever. Yes, we definitely would do that. So my heart does go out to you for that. But I am so glad that you are able to take the life lessons and put them in a way where others will be able to learn from your experience. Because as people start to live longer, that means that we have the possibility of being a caretaker. Like you said, being a parent is one thing. We can raise our kids, that's no problem. But being a caretaker is something different. So we do need to have that information. I'm so glad that you're doing that. Now, when it comes to staying on a trend in your industry, as a consumer of information, we can't wait until you guys release something that helps us stay in the know. But be it that you are on the industry side, how do you stay current? How do you stay aware and make sure that your client base is also not only on trend, but just well informed all around?
That too is an excellent question. You make me think about these things. Um, how I stay on trend is I'm constantly researching. I'm constantly looking at things. If I look at a product and I want to know, is that product third party validated? And what I mean by that is that it was not the company itself that said, this is a good product, but they actually sent it to outside sources. And I say sources because you don't want it to go to just one source. You want it to send it to multiple sources and see who those sources are. It doesn't have to be just the Food and Drug Administration, because we know that's a political situation that we can all talk about. But also, did they send it to something like the Cancer Society, or they send it to Harvard's research project or UCLA research project, where people are actually doing research on it? Or can you look it up on pubmed.gov? So whenever I look at products, I'm researching it from that standpoint. And anytime I'm recommending something to my clients, you can look in my cupboard and I have those products. So it's not where I'm making a recommendation on something that I'm not doing myself, but it is something that I'm doing myself. And oftentimes I will take my cell phone and I'll walk to my cupboards and I'll say, see guys, this is what it is. And you see, here's the bottle, it's open, and here's all the pills in it, or here's the powder. Look at how much is left. This is what I'm doing. So when I'm making recommendations and research, I'm researching the product because it's something that I'm going to take myself.
Mhm.
And because I'm going to take it myself, I want to make sure that what I'm taking is not going to be harmful to me,
Yeah.
and my family. So my family will do a lot of the follow a lot of the steps that I do. Some steps they don't, but for the most part they do.
And you said a very important thing there, and I think it's going to be a moment, an aha moment for a lot of people, and that is the verification. It's not just one, but several stamps of approval. I think many times we just want to make sure that someone, just some agency has validated, but we're not thinking agencies. So that is a really good point that you're making there. I love that. And what a great thing to do on social media, right? To show everyone, hey, I'm recommending this particular brand, or we're utilizing this brand because X, Y, and Z, but I literally use it as well. What a great, I hope they're taking advantage of that stamp of approval, definitely. Now, as women, we have a lot going on. We are moving into our own independence while still staying traditional in many aspects of our lives, which means that we have different cares, different concerns that are being introduced into our lives. What challenges are you seeing with the women that you service, and how are you able to help them go from stuck to unstuck, from maybe disillusioned to having their own epiphany moments?
Oh, you have such thought-provoking questions. Um,
I think
well,
that I am much like you in that I am naturally inquisitive, right? I want to know, why is this what you're saying that it is, and how can I use that? So every question is like a bite size of wisdom and food. So it's like, ooh, a bite. Oh, that's good. I want another bite. And you have just such a wealth of information. I want to make sure I can get in enough nibbles for folks that they too are inspired by the work that you do. But let me let you answer that question.
okay, well, I come from the standpoint that what my father taught me, and that is no means not that way. That's not a traditional thing for women to start with, is that, we've shared a little bit that we're used to being submissive, used to not having that voice. And sometimes, even myself, I will suppress it. But other times, my family and friends who know me, they know that it's only going to happen, but for a short period of time before before I voice my opinion, especially if it's something that I know that's not absolutely correct. I am going to have to say something about it because I want women to understand that you don't have to suppress what it is that you're doing. And an example, I like to lead by example. And an example I would give relative to that is my last partner. We were together for 18 years. And then when I went to women counseling and stuff like that, one of the things they told me to do was to take down my social media because he could troll and he could follow you and he could do all these things. And I told them absolutely not. And my reasoning behind it is I said, people will only know in social media what I put out there. So if he's trolling, the only thing he's going to see is that I'm being successful. He's not going to see the heartache or anything that may be going on behind the scenes because that's not what I'm going to show. I'm not going to show that. That in and of itself allows you to be powerful. it allows you to take back your power rather than giving it away. So I show women in small ways, but it means a lot for them to be able to take that power back. I counseled one woman and she was like, well, she was a housewife. And I wish we could come up with another word for that. I don't, maybe house engineer, something along those lines, because you're not married to your house, so and I look at words and because I taught English, so when I'm looking at words, they mean something different to me. And so I told her, I said, do you like to paint? Get a rock, paint the rock, make money from the rock, get a bottle, paint that, do something. But we oftentimes, women don't look at what's our real value. And I recently did that to show women how valuable they really are, even if they are what we call a housewife. Is I went and I said, what are all the skills that a woman who runs a house have to do? Taking care of the children, doing this, doing, just listed every single thing they had to do. And then I said, if you have to go and get a job that does that same thing, what will you get paid for that job? Then I totaled that, and I was able to show them this is only part of your value, because this is the value of what you do. But now let's look at your body. What is your body worth? And I went to insurance companies to say, if you lost your eye, you lost your tooth, you lost your finger, you lost this, what is the value of that? So now we have the value of your body. We have the value of what you do. Now we add it together and you'll see how many millions of dollars you're really walking around. And that is your value. So I show them how valuable they are. And by doing that, it gives them, like you just said, an aha moment. And I said, now cherish that and take care of it. Because if you had a house or something, that's an object that was that valuable, you would take care of it. So now take care of it and let it grow and flourish. So that's how I try to empower women, is by showing them something that you can't really dispute. You can't dispute numbers. Numbers are numbers. So I show them something concrete, and then I go into the abstract. Let's talk about your health and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, it made me think about an article that I read many, many years ago. And this young family was having the same epiphany moment when he realized that, oh my goodness, how much it would cost if his wife were in the working world. I believe they had two small children, and just daycare, and they needed to purchase another car and the food for everyone and wardrobe, and as you were saying, listing all of the things. And he said, it is much better if my wife, her choice, chooses to stay home. I am 100% in agreement with her now, because I realize how much she is worth to building the family. Because, oh my heavens, he was a numbers guy. And when you said that, it made me think about that story. And I was like, oh yeah, he says, it's not about the emotion. I want to support her. If she wants to work, work. You want to stay home, stay home. But what are the numbers? Let me see the numbers. And that really helped him understand the value that she was bringing. And I think the article was in part talking about how when you're a numbers person, when you run the numbers, you see that it is not the old-fashioned understanding of being a housewife, right? That our homemakers, our domestic engineers, our mamas are so much, their value is so much more than folks were giving to them before. So I'm so glad that you did that with your client. Now, speaking of making decisions and figuring out how we do the things that we do, for folks that come to you for that aspect, to pick your brain, be it that it is in health and wellness or it is on just simply being an entrepreneur, how do you help guide them when it comes to making decisions, not just tough decisions, but just understanding what is best for them?
That's where I go into the traditional question that we always say, what is your why?
Mhm.
Why are you wanting to do what you do? Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to teach? And some person would say, well, because I like it. Okay, but why do you like it? So I keep asking them the question of why, drilling down to get to what is the core? What is that little seed that's in there? And sometimes they don't realize that the reason that they want to do it is because of something that had happened. I want to do this because of something that happened earlier. I want to do this because I saw my mother or father or sister or somebody do this and how it made me feel. So I want the replication of that feeling of feeling better, feeling whatever. So you have to really drill down and find out the why. Even if a person says, well, I want to lose weight. Why? Are you losing weight for someone else? Because if you are, that's not going to last. If you're doing it for yourself, why are you doing it for yourself? It's still a why.
Mhm.
Are you doing it because you want to fit into that dress? That's still temporary, right? Because that's fleeting. Are you doing it because you want to live longer? Why do you want to live longer?
Mhm.
So you have to really drill down on that why. And once we get down to the why, then I can say, okay, now we can move forward because now I know the plan that we have and what we can put together. I call it a co-visionary because I can't help you unless I know where you want to go, but I can be your co-visionary. You have a vision of where you want to go, and I can help you get there by helping you to envision what it is you want to do. So I call it, I'm more than just a coach, more than just a teacher, more than just a nutritionist, more than just a holistic wellness coach, whichever title we want to put on it. I think the best one is that I'm a co-visionary because I can't help you unless I know where you want to go.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. And I find that some of the best people who have assisted you have been those people that continue to ask you why, right? They don't allow you to stay on the surface because you're already on the surface. You don't have any problem being on the surface. You can even perhaps go one or two layers deep and think that you're doing something, right? Because you're prepared for those. You're prepared for those questions because your parent or your sibling or friend has asked, "Well, why do you want to do that?" So you're ready for one or two layers, but by the time they get to someone who really and truly is trying to help you get to the core, that's when you can see it, right? You can see it in their eyes. Their breathing sometimes changes, their countenance really, and they're going, "Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever been, this is uncharted territory. She's making me tap into my feelings, into these emotions. She's making me figure out who I am. Oh, this is good stuff." And they're going through so much. And by the time they get to that last, they really and truly have discovered who they are and their why. So thank you for doing that and for giving folks permission to peel back those layers and to get out of the facade of who we have to present ourselves to be, but really who we are as individual people. Now, speaking of how we are and being our authentic self, how do you, taking off all of those hats, those labels, and all of that, how do you recharge your batteries? How do you stay just a positive person as yourself?
Ooh, well, because I do have a saying that I have a friend who's from Africa, and he always tells me, he says, you can't unknow what you know. And I told him, yes, but I have another sentence to add to that. And he said, okay, you're going to be smart about it. I said, yeah. I said, and since I can't unknow what I know, I don't want to know if it's negative. so,
Okay.
so one of the things I do is people know that I have a certain way of looking at things, even when it's what the average person would consider bad. I try to look at it and I try to find what is the good in the bad. The example I can give with that is that years ago, my mother's sister had passed away, and everybody was at the funeral and they were crying and this and that. Well, many of us, myself included, at one point in time were raised by this aunt, and we were all together. So my first cousins were there, and I was the one who said, "Why are you guys all crying?" I said, "I haven't seen you in 40 years." I said, "So you're so happy to see me?" I said, "Is that why?" I said, "Is that why you're crying?" I said, "So what you should look at is that her passing brought us all together. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her passing. So look at it as a joyous occasion. And now we're across the country. So now we have Zoom and we have phone numbers and we have all of this where we can keep in touch where we didn't do that before. So it brought us together." And the same thing with my mother's passing. You know, she was here with me in California, but now all of my family, with the exception of my daughters and my grandchildren, are on the East Coast. So we will all be going to the East Coast, and many of them they will be meeting for the first time. And if they choose to engage, they can. If they choose not to, they don't have to. But we also have a family cemetery that's back there that goes back generations. So my grandchildren will be able to see from where they come from. And the cornerstone of the church that's built there was partially built by my grandfather. So they will be able to see their history in living color, so to speak. They will be able to actually see it, touch it, feel it, know where it is, know that this is where you come from. So I look at those things and that's how I stay and I recharge myself. And I try, now that my mother is not here, I couldn't do it when she was with me because she would get up in the middle of the night. So I had to worry about that. But now what I do is I try to get that 8 hours of sleep. And that's very, 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 I can't emphasize that too much, important for you to do, because even myself, and being authentic and full disclosure, my face is fatter than it was before because I've gained about 10, 15 pounds. So, and that's because of my cortisol level. I know what was going on. I know what was going on. I didn't worry about it because I knew when whatever happened, I would then be able to get back on track. So I try not to worry about things. It's like my mother would say, this too shall pass. So you have to look at what is my next step. I don't look at the problem. I don't ever say that there's really a problem. I say I'm in a situation. So it's also the words that you use. And so I say, this is a situation. Now, can I figure out the solution to this situation? What do I do? What's my next step? What's the task analysis? And so what I do is I'm looking at what's my next step. And I don't look at the journey. I look at what is my next step.
Mhm.
I may have figured out what the journey is, but I'm not looking at the journey. I'm looking at the next step, because if you only look at the next step, you don't see it as being laborious or any of those kind of things. You look at, okay, this is what I have to do today. Okay, what's on my list for me to do today? Okay, this is what I have to do. Okay, that's done. Now, next, what do I do? Let me go for a walk. Let me do this. Let me go water the plants. Let me do something. So getting into nature, it might be, let me go to the grocery store and see if they have any new produce. This is my way of doing it. When you say, what is it that I do? So I'll go to the grocery store, or I might go and look at some plants, or call a friend who I haven't talked to and say, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? What's going on in your life? Looking for something that's positive, and just figuring out, how can I take whatever that situation is and turn it around, and again, like, this is one of those things where you ask me questions to be authentic and full disclosure. So I am, I still do owe a little bit in taxes because of the situation that had happened before. And I was like, well, I know one way I can keep them, at bay until I figure it out. And that's to pay them a little bit of money. Keep giving them a little bit of money till I find the right tax person who can do my stuff. And I just kept praying on it. I was like, that right person is going to come up. And she did. And she's working wonders. And so now I just turned it all over to her and said, okay, fix this, work your magic. What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? And so she is doing it. But I didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
What I did is I looked at what is it that I have to do? And what I have to do is make sure I can keep them at bay. And how do I keep them at bay? By paying them something. I'm not ignoring it and not saying I don't have to do it. I'm just saying I don't know how to unravel this because the tax person that I had did it all wrong. So I need somebody who knows what to do to fix this because I don't know and I don't have time to study that too. I have enough things that I study and enough things that I do. So I have to find that right person. And I did. It was one of my friends who referred me to somebody, and she only takes like so many clients. And unfortunately, but fortunately for me, some of her clients passed away. And she said, I have now I have room because she only takes a certain amount and no more than that. That's why I'm saying I look at what is my next step, not what is my next steps. And then I just am making sure that I'm concentrating on, okay, what do I want to eat today? What do I feel like eating? So I do the intuitive eating. And again, sometimes you can know a little bit too much. So it's like, I really want those chips, but I know that's not the right thing for me to eat. So let me figure out something I can do. Why do I want the chips? What is my body really saying to me? Okay, I want the carbs, I want the sugar. So then I go through my analysis stage. And then I come to a conclusion. You really don't want to eat those chips because you really are trying to lose weight because you need to do this. So I go through that and talk myself out of it. And then I look at what products do I have that's going to be the products that's going to help me with what it is I need to do. So I stay happy in the research is pretty much to answer the question. And that way I never feel like I'm limiting myself on something I may really want. I'm still going to get it because I'll figure out, oh, I want some sugar, I want some sweets. So go eat a piece of dried fruit, go eat a fresh fruit. So I do those things where I know I'm getting what I'm craving, but I'm also getting it in a healthy way, and which helps my brain, helps me to stay healthy and happy. You know, good food keeps you happy. So that's kind of what I do.
And you're definitely reminding folks to go out there and not only do the research, but to really listen to your body, figure out what is being said. I remember I was on social media and I was listening to a particular lecture, and the guy was sharing, we have a tendency to want, he called them by name, but I'm just going to say snack food, right?
Mhm.
He says, but it really isn't the snack food that we want. It's because our body is lacking in. And then he would say, we need magnesium, or we need zinc, or we need whatever it is, right? We need vitamin, whatever it is. And he says, it's just your brain's way of saying, hey, I need this good thing, and because you like this snack food over here, eat some of that so that I can try to get some of this good thing. And he too said, if we only learned what the fruits and vegetables are providing for us, then we would understand that it's more than just our mothers saying, eat your vegetables every day, right? It's like, why? Right?
Yes.
Why? And if we understood that why of why we are actually eating that fruit or that particular vegetable, then it could help us curb some of the unhealthy things that we're doing so that we could get to that healthy thing. But we're just not taught that. So I am so glad that people are being authentic and they are sharing their stories, and it helps people realize that, guess what, even if your business is wellness, every now and again you do want some chips, or you might want a cookie or some ice cream or whatever it is, right? That you really do want to have that experience, but that you also have the boundary and say we can have a little, and that little is enough. So I love that you shared that. Now, another hat that you wear is one of author. Now, we know that your books are available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, of course, but you have a series of books entitled Now Chew on This. First of all, love the title. If I saw that at my Barnes and Noble, I'm gonna pause and just thumb through the book because I want to know. I cannot wait to see what's inside. Tell us about this series.
I will, and I will share the inside joke on that. And that's where I took back my power. My ex had stolen a lot of money, and I had gone to counseling and all that type of stuff, like a lot of women do. And they had told me, take down your social media, you need to do this. And my whole point is that they can only find out what you put out there in public. And because it's my dad who's in me and my mom who's in me, I went back to my roots and I said, I'm in a situation. What am I going to do? How do I flip this around so that it's healthier for me? And so that's how the title came about. My daughters will say, like you, everybody says, "Oh, that's such a cute title." And my daughters say, "No, it's not. You don't know what she's really saying and the message that she's really sending." so so that's how the series came out. So it does have a double meaning. And it is. And I do have in the series, I do have one that was geared towards women, which is on hormones. So it talks about women hormones. I have one in the series that talk about plants, and it talks about the plants that you put in your house, and it's called, Now Chew on This, A Breath of Fresh Air. I have another one that's Now Chew on This, Eat Seasonally. So I tell you the fruits and vegetables and the recipes that would help you eat seasonally. So I keep it going so that each book that I come out, it will start out with Now Chew on This, and then it will have a subtitle to it. And the subtitle tells you what the book is about, but the Now Chew on This is my power.
Oh, I love that. Not the situation that happened to you
Right,
to
right,
spark it, but just to being able to say, I will no longer be fill in the blank with all of the negative words that you want to put in there, right? But
right.
instead, I am, like you said, taking my power back. I'm gonna walk forward and stand in this power. So now chew on this. I love that because we do need to understand that life is gonna give us some of those hardships, right? We're gonna have some obstacles. We're gonna run into even some people in our lives that are there to even teach us the hard lesson, right? That person that's just obstinate, that just whoo, they're only there for a moment, but boy did we learn a lot about a negative thing so that we can move forward in that positivity. So I am so glad that you did not allow that situation to keep you under, to keep you beneath, to keep you from achieving and being the all that you have become. And I tell you, you are such an inspiration, and I cannot wait to continue to follow the journey that you are on and how you continue to inspire not only us, but the next generation as well. Now, Charmène, thank you again for being a guest on the show. I've enjoyed my conversation with you. But before I let you go, though, if someone else wants to reach out to you, again, the books, of course, are available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. But if they want to reach you, how do they do that? How do they find you on social media?
Well, on social media, you see my little name back there, and you will see, my, at. So it's going to be Mama Vega. So Mama Vega is the easiest way. If they Google it, you'll see me on all the different platforms. It may say Charmène Vega, but if they were to do a Google search, it would be Mama Vega. If they go to my website, which is the easiest, it would be mamavega.com. And then in the upper right hand corner, it has all the links to all my social media there. And that way I don't have to remember how I did it. I only have to remember Mama Vega. And that makes it easiest for me and looking at it. And I do have some of the books there, but again, they're on, and the books are under Charmène Vega. They're not under Mama Vega. So it would be under my real name. I published under my real name.
I love it. Thank you again for being a guest on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.
And thank you for having me.